guys. Welcome to tonight's Q&A. So, just going to ramble on for a minute whilst we get some people coming on board. Let's pop a poll question in. Right. Would you be able to help someone in the water fitness wise? Yes. No. Not sure how. So we'll do that. Cool. So we got a question up. Do you think you guys are fit enough to not only surf, but if someone was in trouble, are you fit enough to be able to drag them back to shore? And do you know how to bring someone back to shore? So, technique wise, there's not much I can go through on a live video. However, there is an episode of one of the podcasts where we talk with Reese John, who is a lifeguard trainer assessor for the SLS-GB. I've been going to Reese for 10 years, and we go through a little bit about that. If you've got any questions, then let me know. I will in the new year be looking at maybe putting something together so that you can learn how to do a rescue on a regular surfboard, or just tow somebody in without a board. It does take a lot of stamina, a lot of strength, and just a lot of awareness. It will drain you, but it's what it is. You can help save somebody's life. I know there's an incident recently on the south coast, up Dorset Way. Not exactly sure what happened. I've been involved in a couple of rescues over the years. I think it is worth knowing how to deal with that situation, how to stay calm, and just have the general sort of fitness and knowledge to know how to deal with that situation. How to deal with people as well in that, but that's a whole nother subject. So fitness wise, what are you guys doing at the minute? Pop a question in the comments and we will go through and answer them as and when they come through. In terms of strength and power, so again, it's quite a common one, getting the right balance in terms of sets, reps, training programs. Unless you're planning on being a bodybuilder as well, avoid the generic online training programs for the gym, because probably 90% of the time they're geared towards people that are trying to, yes, get stronger, but they are geared up towards excuse the pun, looking good, looking strong, and it's not necessarily functional strength. It's just muscle gain, and muscle size, rather than actually focusing on performance, which, as we know, as surfers, it's a very dynamic sport, unlike bodybuilding, where you're just moving and choreographing a collection of poses. you're not actually pushing your body to its limits in terms of performance. Um, Even so, you've got to think about the wipeouts as well as the actual performance dynamic side of surfing. Your body's taking a beating, maybe physically. Um, if you're surfing somewhere like a deep water, maybe larger wave, hold downs, that's a lot of stress on the system, including from the mental side of it. Your body's tensing up, you are trying to remain calm, so you're fighting your nervous system a little bit, and all that does take it out of you. You need to have the mental strength, the physical strength. So working on a training program that will allow you to build that physical strength is a really good base. Focus on your finding the right sets and reps. Obviously I can sort you out with a program. We can get you going on that. But yeah, there'll be similar crossover exercises, like tricep work. So if your push up isn't particularly strong, you need to work on your chest and your triceps. So there will be certain elements of hypertrophy, but if it's done in a right way, utilizing tempo and the right sort of exercises as well, then it's absolutely fine. Is when you start trying to train to failure all the time and doing drop sets and matrix 21s and all these other different types of training methods that are built to fatigue the muscle rather than utilize it for performance. That's why it's called strength and conditioning. You need to strengthen the muscles, you need to condition your body. So if you're looking at improving your fitness for surfing and maybe having that stamina that if you do get into trouble, maybe there's a bit of a flash rip or the wind picks up and you're surfing somewhere that can turn into a bit of a river rather than a break, then you need to start working on your conditioning and your work capacity. Now, that doesn't necessarily have to be sport specific. When we're talking about the work capacity, cardiovascular fitness, general conditioning, you don't have to be paddling and paddling and paddling. I mean, swimming is a great one anyway, but you don't have to be doing that. That's not the be all end all. If you're not that close to a pool, you can't get in to surf very often. Then, or even if, and I had it beginning of the year, I was surfing at a place in surfing. I was swimming at a pool in Eastleigh, and the only time I could really get in to the lane swimming, it wasn't being lifeguarded very well. So there's people of all different levels across all different lanes. There was no fast lane, medium, front crawl, such. So I definitely couldn't do the sprint work that's needed, and you always having to slow down, speed up, try and overtake people, and it's just an absolute nightmare. So another way to do this is just by jumping on and doing some good hit work, and then building up your total work capacity. So for example, if you jump on the assault bike, rower, I mean ski erg, if there's one in there, that's probably the most surf specific one you're going to get without swimming or paddling itself. So ski erg's really good, and it is bilateral, so you can use unilateral, you can use single arm at a time, so it doesn't have to be both arms like a skier. You can just go left right, and that's a lot more obviously specific to surfing. So have a go on that. Now with a lot of the machines now, if you're not used to the gym, rather than just doing generic time intervals, you can start throwing in like metcons or metabolic conditioning. So you're looking at calories burned, for example. So you could, if you wanted to make it slightly more specific, you could throw in a few burpees, heavy press ups. Um, so I don't know, throw on a weighted vest, or you could even have a bench next to you and do some dumbbell press, and then mix that in with say a 10, 20, 30 calorie ski erg or rower's another good one. At least it's going to condition your upper back muscles, and still work the same or similar muscle groups but in a different way. So if you're paddling correctly, where you retract your shoulder blades, and you'll be using your lats a lot more, and the rower will help you with that. So the rower and ski are great. So yeah, you can look at metabolic conditioning. Remember that you want to look at it. There's two different ways to look at it. You can go, right, my average paddle out is 10 minutes, for example. You could be on a busy, rough onshore day, you could be paddling constantly for 10 minutes just to get out, stay in position, and so forth, whilst you're waiting for the sets. So you want to be working up to a solid 10 minutes consistently. The other way to do it is if there's going to be a lot of duck diving or turtle rolling if you're on a bigger board, you can break it up. So the Metcon might be a better way to do it. So throw in a strength exercise that's going to stop you mid-flow. So you're going to do, I don't know, 10 seconds of ski erg, throw in a couple of burpees or handstand press up or whatever you want to throw in, back to it. And then you could do, I don't know, start off with 6 rounds of that. It's only going to be a couple of minutes, and then you can just build up with an extra round a week until you keep building up to that, so 10 to 15 minutes. I surfed a spot recently, a point break in Cornwall, and it takes a big bit of swell to work. We had a horrible, like an annoying offshore wind that was alongside the rip, was taking you beyond the lineup, beyond the breaking wave. So not only did you have a very, very long paddle compared to a normal beach break, you were then, once you got out there, you were almost paddling in or paddling backwards if you sat on the board to try and stay in position so that you're not going to go too far. So yeah, building up your work capacity is vital. So one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about that this week was I was talking to someone the other day. I've just put in for the lifeguards next year, and back in 2008 or 2009, I'd done a rescue. I wasn't a surf coach, I wasn't a lifeguard, I hadn't done any of that training. I was just an average weekend warrior on a trip to Bude, and I can never remember which beach it was. I think it might have been Summerlees. It had the rock pool at the north end, and I've been in. All the guys had, well, we'd all had the house party the night before, so a bit worse for wear. I didn't really drink much, so still up, crack of dawn, went for a Dawny, surfed for a couple of hours in sort of head and a half size surf on a larger shortboard at the time. As in for a good hour and a half, maybe 2 hours of constant paddling, because I say that was on shore. There's a strong rip running. It's pretty knackered by the end of it, and I got out. As I got out, a guy come running up to me on the beach. I'd help. There's a woman, and she seems to be drowning near a rock pool. So ran up the beach, went out, tried saving her, and I mean, adrenaline took over, don't get me wrong, but she was stuck in a rip and was highly intoxicated. Had taken some sort of pill, narcotic the night before, was still very much enjoying that at the time. So she was laughing and joking 1 minute, and then realization was kicking in the next. So trying to stop her from going further out in a rip, and myself, um, whilst not trying to freak her out too much. She didn't have a stitch on. It was early morning, so she must have been freezing. Managed to get her close enough to shore that we could get our feet down properly, and then thankfully two other gents come and helped out. And as we got her onto the beach, one of the lifeguards was there early with a truck. So he had some kit on the back, some blankets, jackets, and we managed to keep her warm. Her mum was there and helped her out. So it was a nice finish, really. Like, it didn't end tragically, which was nice. But thankfully, I had a reasonable level of fitness at the time. Again, I wasn't a PT, I wasn't a surf coach, and it's now made sure that I've kept a certain level at all times. I'm not long distance athlete. I'm not an ultra runner or anything like that. But I know that if myself or someone is in trouble in the water, I can get out there nice and quick. So, yeah, basically, if you want to find out how to look after someone in the water, how to rescue them, different techniques, then give me a shout. We'll get you booked in with Reese in the new year, get you on a course, and that way you can feel a lot more comfortable. Whether that's just another friendly surfer mate, or maybe you're taking your family, a friend, a partner, your kids surfing. If something happens, a flash rip, they do happen, then you know how to deal with that. With flash rips, we had one, well, we actually had two this year, July, August. Did a bit of a flat spell, and then we had a solid sort of 4 to 6 foot groundswell come through, and it broke one of the sandbars at Harlin. Thankfully, although not all the coaches had noticed in time, but myself, Reese, and another one of the chaps had seen, were like, this doesn't feel right. And the sandbar broke down. A few kids started heading out, but we spotted it, we felt it, and we managed to get them in with no issues at all. Everyone was safe on the beach. We just moved down a little bit, and kept everyone in check. So yeah, it's all good, but it can happen in a split second. A flash rip, basically the sandbar is there, and then over time, especially with a bigger swell, if you haven't had much, sand's a bit soft, it's just going to break a hole in the sandbar. So where there wasn't a channel, there is one. And that's what freaks people out, and it will just pull you out. You will only go to the head of the rip. You're not going to end up miles and miles out to sea, and typically it's not going to pull you under. That's more fatigue. But if you've got any questions on any of that, give me a shout, and we can get you just clued up a little bit and a bit more confident in the water. And again, if you need help with any of your training, then I am around. Fire me a message. Anything in terms of the ocean, although I can't teach you to fish. But yeah, surf fitness, coaching, training, give me a shout. And yeah, we're coming up to 20 minutes, so we'll leave it there. But yeah, fire me a message or leave a comment below. This will be getting posted, so you can watch it back in your own time. But yeah, any questions, get in touch. And it'll be Christmas next week, so I may or may not be doing a live. If I don't, have a great Christmas and New Year. But yeah, reach out with anything you need.